Welcome to Western Mass News, your school authority. We continue to provide you with the latest information surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, but with so many questions surrounding schools and the potential return of kids to the classroom, we're taking this half hour to focus on your concerns. So time to start addressing those issues. We turn now to Dr. Erika Hamilton, a microbiologist from UMass Amherst. So welcome, Dr. Hamilton. We're going to start with transmission. Can COVID-19 transmission happen from teachers handing out papers?
So the chances of this are small. Now, COVID can live on soft surfaces, and paper is considered a soft surface for short periods of time. When done in a lab, they can last on soft surfaces for quite a while, but that's under perfect conditions in a lab, which a classroom is definitely not. Now, so the chances that not only would the COVID live on the paper, but it would then have to get off of the paper and into a person to make them sick. So the chances are remote. So some things that the teacher can do before they're handing out the papers is just use hand sanitizer before they're handing the papers out so they know that there's no COVID on their hands when they're handing them out. And in the reverse direction, if the teacher is correcting some papers, they shouldn't be eating or drinking while they're correcting them. They could probably better to leave the papers at school as opposed to correcting them at home. And everybody, the teachers and the children, should be using hand sanitizer and or washing their hands frequently while handling papers that have been handled by other people.
A lot more work at school for those teachers. So what is the best setup for desks in a classroom?
This will depend a lot on the size and the shape of the room and the number of students that are going to go into it. But in general, the desks should be 6 feet apart, and there should be something on the floor which designates where that 6-foot area is so that students can clearly see where their space ends and somebody else's space begins. If this is difficult to do in the room, there should be less students in the room, or there will most likely be less students. You can also remove unused or unnecessary furniture like filing cabinets and bookcases. All the students should be facing in the same direction. And then there should be very clear markings in the room, either with signs or directional arrows on the floor, the direction where the flow of movement in the room is. So when students come into the room, how do they get to their seats? When they leave their seats, where do they go to leave? Now, if the room is particularly crowded and you can't do the 6-foot difference, barriers can be put up between desks so that students can sit closer than 6 feet. And if you go online, there are a lot of different recommendations and design options that teachers can take a look at to figure out the best way to put their room together.
Yeah, they're certainly getting very creative when it comes to that. All right, what activities are safest when it comes to gym class, physical education?
So any activity that reduces close contact, doesn't have a lot of equipment sharing, and can be done outside are preferable. So examples of this are, running, Pilates, yoga, things like aerobic exercise outside. Those don't really require a lot of equipment, and the student can do individually. Some other things that are kind of like low on the equipment level, and the students are socially distanced from each other, are things like volleyball, golf, weightlifting, badminton, tennis, pickleball, things like that. It might require equipment, but it's all things that can be cleaned off when students are done with it. And the way you play the games, the students are not going to be that close to each other. So they can use equipment as long as everything is cleaned off after use. And all students and the PE teacher should be hand sanitizing or washing their hands before PE class and at the end of class.
Get a whole lot of that hand sanitizer. Dr. Hamilton, thanks so much for joining us today. We'll, of course, stay in touch and have more of your insight come Monday. And Western Mass News is your school authority. We'll work to answer your questions and concerns about the upcoming school year. You can call our newsroom. Leave us a voicemail at 413-846-0200 or email us schoolauthority@westernmassnews.com.